Hello, my name is Chris Pyke, and I'm excited to welcome you to the 2025 GRESB Results. I'm joined by Roxana Berg, and we are super excited to share more about what's happened with the GRESB benchmark over the last year. And so I'll start with a tiny bit of context. It is not news to anyone that this has been a remarkable 12 to 24 months of change and uncertainty in our industry. I want to give you three highlights that have mattered to us. One, we understand that this has been a challenging macroeconomic environment. We've had a situation with higher for longer interest rates. We've had inflation of things like capital costs, and we've also seen a 40% reduction in capital flows to global real estate investment since 2022. These are significant headwinds in our industry. We've also seen over the last 6 to 9 months unprecedented uncertainty. Not quite unprecedented. In fact, data from PwC and ULI tell us that the state of macroeconomic or policy uncertainty in 2025 rivals the period after the global financial crisis in 2009. So this is a period where folks are looking for direction and wondering about the path ahead. And finally, it's also a period of divergence. We see significantly different opinions about sustainability on a global basis. For instance, in the Americas, in the United States, we see 90% of sustainability professionals reporting pressure or backlash even against sustainability action. On the other hand, our colleagues in the Asia Pacific region, professionals there, less than a third of them report similar experiences. So we're at a time of change, a time of some headwinds, and some real divergences in our lived experiences. The good news is, despite all of those challenges and circumstances, the state of the GRESB benchmark remains remarkably strong. Participation this year will rival our record-setting 2024 participation, with a similar distribution of investor-owned property and infrastructure around the world. Similar geography, similar sectors, and that's a real testament to the resilience of our community under these circumstances. And more than simply resilience, we've also seen growth. We have significant growth in different areas of APAC, such as Malaysia, Vietnam, and other places, as well as Latin America. So, Rox, I want to turn to you. In this time of change and uncertainty, what does this mean for GRESB in terms of our products and our engagement with our stakeholders?
So, as in any environment of uncertainty, the best we can do is try to cut through the noise and revert to the undeniable fundamentals. And in our case, that means focusing on the investor community that has always stood at the core of what we do and has always been the one that sets the direction. And so now that the results are out, Q4 is going to be dedicated to running an extensive global investor engagement campaign. Mm-hmm. Our ambition is to talk to every single one of the institutional investors from our membership community and beyond. And so if you are one of those examples and one of those institutions that would like to get in touch with us, please do. Our focus is understanding how do the priorities and the needs of the investor community are shifting, changing, evolving during this period, and how can we best serve you in that direction, whether that's through more guidance, through evolving materials, through thematic benchmarking, through market insights, through capabilities that help you contextualize or work with the data. We're here to serve you. And so we are working on, and we're currently developing some of the most material and significant developments in the functionality and the way that we help investors work with the data. Whether that's easier, better ways to interact with the insights that they've always had access to, or whether that's new ways in which they interpret and measure impact, the way that they track decarbonization. We have a lot of ideas that are currently under development and are being validated with the investor community. Now, at the same time, we do remain a partner for managers and operators worldwide. And we understand, we appreciate that they have different challenges depending on where they are in the world and the type of asset classes that they operate. And we are here to meet them where they are on their sustainability journey and offer different ways in which they can evaluate, celebrate, promote, communicate their achievements, regardless of their level of maturity on that journey. At the same time, we are also creating ways in which they can more frequently and easier also assess, estimate, and anticipate the performance of their assets. And so all of these functionalities are either already available in our universe or are being developed. So keep a close eye on our newsletter as well.
Awesome. I know many of our participants, if you are a participant, you are probably excited about things like our ability to look at score contribution analysis for assets new this year, as well as things like score simulation for next year, new this year. So these are just reflections of what you were saying. So of course, we are not doing this alone. We have done some important strategic partnerships this year that are helping our participants address investor interest in thematic areas, as well as sectoral opportunities. Can you share a little bit more about what GRESB is doing on thematic issues and sectors?
Of course. So we understand there's a need for more granular and more timely access to data, which is also reflected in some of the developments that we've brought forward this year. Moreover, we are very proud of the partnership that we've had with IIGCC that allowed us to pilot a good way of tracking alignment with the net zero investment framework, an internationally recognized standard for alignment with decarbonization pathways and transition strategies. More on that is shared by our colleague Jos Blemeyer in a separate video, so we invite you to track that as well. Conversely, we would be remiss not to mention or not to talk about the undeniable growth in the data centers sector. Digital infrastructure is the fastest growing sector in real assets at the moment, underpinned by all the technology advancements and the need for more digital infrastructure. However, what we also know is that what does create an optimized or what would create predictability in the way that a data center operates long-term and creates long-term value is also the way that it embeds resiliency characteristics, and it interprets resiliency really from day one. And so with that in mind, we are launching a dedicated, tailor-made assessment for data centers in the first half of 2026, testament to a very strong and very successful partnership with iMasons, an industry group focused on or only incorporating data center operators globally. As we speak, there's a pilot running, and this new set of indicators are being tested and reviewed and evaluated and edited by a working group that has been working very closely with us to develop what constitutes a material set of insights for data centers. And we're very excited to see that coming to play and being launched at scale first half of 2026.
Those are both great. They both reflect how we are partnering with groups like IIGCC to make that. One of my favorite anecdotes this year is our investor member saying, hey, we want to capture net zero investor framework alignment, and I don't want any more spreadsheets. I want that data to come to a central source, and I want to be able to get it through the data exporter, and we were able to help them do that. Yay, go team. And at the same time, that story of data centers is one of the first times we've been able to really look at a bottom up, what does the market need from us? It's very exciting. And as you said, we'll see that in full force next year.
Yes.
So let's close this section with let's talk about how, at the end of the day, investors and managers are working with us to create value, to manage risk, and to deal with changing circumstances. Do you have maybe a couple of highlights that reflect your experience over the last year of investors or managers doing just that?
We've seen some unprecedented shifts in the way that capital allocations work, and we've seen some bold statements coming from large institutional investors, primarily from Europe, in the way that they choose to allocate capital. If their long-term investment strategy no longer aligns with the long-term investment strategy of the managers they had been working with, even if those were names with a long tradition in sustainable investments. And that's all to say that these are important signals that reinforce the idea that institutional investors have a lot of power in shifting, in defining the dynamics here. And in a period where alignment with transition risk becomes unpredictable, or the definition of that becomes unpredictable, the capital markets have to self-regulate. And this is where, again, institutional investors are the ones that hold true to their fundamentals and the way that they interpret their long-term strategy. And outside of a few short-term reactions to the signals that we get from the international political scene, we also see a continuous demonstrated commitment to long-term value creation. And one thing I'll note is that in markets like Asia, that are learning very fast and that are adapting to these concepts of innovation and sustainable development very fast, well, we're excited to see what's coming from there, because at the moment, they're the ones that innovate a lot, especially in the sustainable finance sector, where they're accessing capital rooted into the idea that sustainable investments are actually here to stay, and they will be the ones that guarantee long-term value creation.
I love that. To pick up on that last theme, and as we bring this to a close, one thing that you were mentioning, that integration of sustainability in a next generation of linked loans, like that is such a leadership opportunity for our APAC colleagues, where literally by the act of creating sustainability linked loans rooted in GRESB-based indicators, they can show that they are becoming less risky, more creditworthy borrowers over the course of a loan. That's real value creation and very exciting. And
measurable.
And measurable. It's something we can do. And so that's something we have more to say about that coming down the road. So with that said, we could sit here all day, but there is so much more to explore as part of the 2025 results. We hope we have whetted your appetite. We hope that what you do is you follow up with the extended videos that wrap around this one to learn more about IIGCC and NZIP, to learn more about data centers, to explore other things that we're doing. There's a lot more content for you, and we appreciate your time. We're looking forward to sharing more.
Thank you.